Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Community Corner. I've got maybe the best guest I've ever had in here. Dave Taylor is a born and bred Ohioan. He's a conservative businessman and attorney who proudly represents our Ohio's 2nd District in the U.S. House of Representatives. He's also served as a prosecutor before returning to his family's business, which he helmed in very successful fashion. Congressman Dave Taylor, man, it is great to have you in here with us this morning.
Good morning. Thank you very much for having me.
Well, it is. And listen, I cannot begin to imagine how busy it's been for you here lately with everything that goes into, serving a first term and everything. But when we get started here, I'd touched a little bit on your background. Could you please tell our listeners a little bit more about yourself?
Sure. Pretty much born and raised in Claremont County, Ohio. I was born in Dayton. We moved down there when I was about 2. So basically always in the 2nd District. Went to Amelia High School and Miami University and on to University of Dayton School of Law. Worked for the Claremont County Prosecutor's Office for a number of years there, and then left, as you mentioned, to join the family business in 1999, but always maintained a role with the Prosecutor's Office to one capacity or another. When Congressman Winstrup decided to retire, I started thinking about how the district had changed and had gone from one that sort of focused on Hamilton County and Cincinnati to one that focuses on the Appalachian counties of southern Ohio, and that made me think this would be a good opportunity to try to do some good in a new way. Well,
I'm grateful that you ran. I would agree with your assessment as well, for whatever that's worth. I think you nailed it on the spot. As a young man, I mean, obviously, you just talked about being in a prosecutor's office and things. Did you ever think about running for political office at this level?
I did not. I didn't think of being involved in politics in any way. Working at the prosecutor's office was about as close as I came and ever wanted to. But, my grandfather came here from coal mines of Logan, West Virginia, and started a construction business and sort of dedicated his life to building up not just the infrastructure, but opportunities for folks in Appalachian Ohio, and that sort of became the theme of our family. We've all worked in his businesses over the years, and in one way or another to try to serve his vision. But as I mentioned, when the district becomes all Appalachian in 2022, you're presented with the opportunity to help with some problems you can't help with a bulldozer or a concrete truck. They have to be done in a whole different setting. So it's really just the appeal of that opportunity that caused me to enter politics. It's never been a dream of mine or anything like that.
Well, so far, I mean, you definitely you talked about not running or being involved in politics. I've never thought that you were. I thought you're just interested in getting the job done.
That's exactly right, and I think that's what we're seeing in this administration, and with especially the folks I've met. I've spent a lot of time with other first-time or first-term Congress members, and on the Republican side, what you're seeing is a lot more people with backgrounds like mine that are not political. There are some that do have political backgrounds, and that's important. It's good to have experience, but you're seeing a real appetite for people who are there to get the job done. People who have signed the front of and the back of a paycheck, and I think you're seeing the administration from top to bottom embracing a real can-do kind of attitude.
Well, speaking of getting things done, the first bill you introduced was the Regulation Decimation Act. Could you please tell us why you believe it's so important?
Absolutely. For a couple reasons. Number one, we have a terribly bloated federal regulatory structure that holds back private industry and all other matters of human endeavor, basically. So cutting as much of that as possible is a big goal generally. The other part of the equation is what we're seeing right now is President Trump doing a lot of very important things, but doing them through executive order because that's how they were sort of undone in the previous administration, and in the interest of time, that needs to be done. But what needs to happen from the Congress's side of things is to codify those things into law so that next time we have a Democrat president, in 40 or 50 years, they don't go back and change all those things by EO, that they're more enduring.
Well, now, you're also on the Agriculture Committee, correct?
Yes.
Could you speak about the Farm Bill, the need to increase broadband availability in rural agricultural areas such as ours?
Absolutely. It was of my primary motivations and talking points during the campaign. The fact that the second district is such a broadband desert really leaves us out of the modern economy, and the agriculture committee not only has a lot of say over, well, basically all the say over the drawing up of the farm bill. They also have a great deal of influence over rural connectivity in general. So that's what attracted me to request to be put on the agriculture committee, and very blessed to have been lucky enough to have been chosen. And from the farm bill perspective, I like to, I know you've got a lot of listeners who are very interested in that. They had marked up a pretty reasonable farm bill towards the end of last Congress, and I believe that that's going to be the jumping off point in this Congress with hopefully some improvements. The Farm Bureau reps that I've spoken to across this district were widely satisfied with the direction of the Farm Bill that was being drawn up under the 118th Congress. And this one is going to be as good or better, and I do believe we can get it across the line.
Oh, great answer. That is. Do you think that your fellow congressmen and women understand the people of the district that you serve? Because it always seems to me that there's a disconnect, no matter what party's in power, in the legislature or in the executive branch. It just seems like there's a really gross misunderstanding of the integrity and the value of the people that live in this district.
That's 100% true. I call them the make-do people. They don't make a lot of noise. They've got a tremendous number of acute needs, but you don't hear them complaining about themselves. And no, they're not just forgotten. They're almost, in my opinion, actively discriminated against, not just in the second district, but throughout rural America. Again, to say what I said a minute ago about the new members of this Congress that I've spent more time with than anybody else, there are a lot from other Appalachian areas who are acutely aware of what we're dealing with. And there is some real traction and understanding of the neglect that's taken place among rural communities across the United States. So, yes, what you're talking about still exists, and it's very disheartening. But what I'm also seeing is a groundswell of understanding about how much better we'd all be if everybody got an equal chance to succeed. Rural America and everything from rural America to urban centers and everything in between.
Well, I'm glad we're on the same side of that. Thank you for fighting for the people of this district. Now, you also serve on the Transportation and Infrastructure Committee. And is there any working legislation out there that's going to benefit your second district?
Absolutely. This is not just the Farm Bill year. This is also what they call the Surface Transportation Reauthorization year. So basically, they call it the Highway Bill. Is up to be renewed this year. So that's going to impact this area in a lot of different positive ways. There are already some projects in the works. There's new projects we talked about. The Interstate 73 project, something I learned a little bit more about on my visit today, and I'm going to look more into that because I think that would make a huge difference in a lot of ways for the second district and for the nation. In the transportation, within the Transportation and Infrastructure Committee, I'm on the Highway and Rail and Water subcommittees. So lots of those things are going to impact the second district in a lot of ways. Ohio is the third largest rail state in the country, and it's obviously there's a lot of rail activity in this district. We're right on the Ohio River, so we're heavily impacted by the water transportation issues, and the advancement of trade, which we're going to see under this administration, is going to focus a lot on getting our agricultural materials to other markets, and the Ohio River's role in that will be huge. And obviously we have acute needs of maintaining and fixing our crumbling infrastructure. We also have the need for for new projects to connect our area with the rest of the country and the state.
In the 30s, you can make the argument that increasing the infrastructure quality here in our country kind of pulled us out of the Depression. Do you see that as a way to get out of the current fiscal malaise that our country seems to be in? I mean, not the end, answer, but do you see it as a pathway maybe to putting us in a better place?
Absolutely, and not just in the traditional transportation infrastructure mode, but what I've been talking about in Washington D.C. is as it stands, there are 3 different committees that have some jurisdiction over the rural broadband connection issue, and none of them is transportation and infrastructure. Now, I think we can all agree that at this point, being connected to the internet is infrastructure. There's no one on either side of the aisle that would suggest you're part of the modern economy if you're not connected at solid speeds to the internet. So my hope is that, like, sort of it definitely goes along with what you're saying about the interstate highway system, but also you think about it as the Electrifying America Act of 1938. I think I'm getting the name of that wrong, but when the federal government came in and paid for infrastructure to get electricity to the places it needed to be, and then got out of the way and let the market handle it from there. That's what we like to see with rural broadband. Is let's make sure the infrastructure is there for everybody, and then you let the companies that do it well do it, and go forward in the traditional free market method that's worked so well so long.
Well, that's a great perspective. Is there any other legislation out there that has really kind of caught your eye or your ear that you want to let our listeners know about?
Well, we really felt like we hit the ground running. We got sworn in January 3rd, and we were able to, in the House, we passed the Lake and Riley Act to protect American citizens from violent criminals here illegally. We passed a law, or the bill to get men and boys out of women's and girls' sports and locker rooms, and we continued on. We passed through the House quite a few bills, but then the pace picked up tremendously on January 20th when President Trump got elected and the executive orders started flowing. But there's obviously more to come. The Farm Bill and the Highway Bill are big, but also there's actually some federal action that relates to the second district in a way that's important to me. Is it's going to restrain this what I consider to be a scourge of solar panels being used on prime farmland. There's a real effort coming to try to curtail that and at least make responsible use of solar panels, if not discourage them in general. In my opinion, I don't think they're a solution to begin with, but that's important. They're addressing. There's a lot of important things that are being addressed right across the board. That it happens so fast, it's hard to keep track of it all.
When you were running for office in an election that you won handily, you did a great job of coming across as every guy. I am one of you. I just want to improve the quality of life for you, and I think that's one thing that really carried over. For you to win by such a big margin, and it's legitimate. I mean, that's who you are, isn't it?
Absolutely. I got into this race to do the things that I said I want to do, and see the people that I care about have an equal opportunity to succeed. I think that's everybody has a right to fail. America's it's great because you can succeed here and you can also fail here, but we're not getting a fair chance to succeed. And I know what the people of Second District will do with it if given that chance, and that's what motivated me to get into politics. I don't like to be anywhere near a tall building, basically. but if a third of the things I'd like to see change for the Second District we can accomplish, that'll all be worth it.
Now, you're relatively new to Washington, so what's been the biggest surprise that you've encountered since you took office?
I have to say that, and I've said this to other people, I'm a little surprised because I've been outside of politics my whole life, and I have sort of the attitude about politicians that I think most lay people have. I've been surprised by how many good, hardworking people who are there to do the right thing I've encountered, and that is about as positive a surprise as I could have hoped for. Everything's a surprise to me there because I had no idea what to expect, but that's probably the biggest one.